What's going on, guys? Welcome to your next Facebook tutorial. What we're going to get into is creating a simple login button where it launches our application, asks the user if they want to allow this application to run, all that great stuff. So that's kind of how it's going to work. So let's jump into it. What we're going to do first is kind of set up our application ID with Eclipse. And you're like, what? We already did that. I thought we were done with that stuff. Well, it's pretty simple. We just have to go into our apps folder here and then go to our specific app that we're developing for app testing and copy this app ID right here. Again, I blocked mine out, but just copy this and that's all we'll need. You can close your developer or your browser or whatever. And then we're going to go back into Eclipse and we're going to go into our values folder, which is in our resources, click string and hit add. It's going to be a string reference, and we're going to label this all uppercase app underscore ID and paste in or type out your app ID number. I'm going to clip the video and paste mine, save this, and then we're going to get into something else. So, alright, so now what we're going to do also is access some of the photos, because if any of you guys know me or have watched any of my other tutorials, I'm a terrible graphic artist. So we're going to go back to where we downloaded the SDK for Facebook. So locate that folder and just open it up, go into the examples, and we're going to click this simple example, go into the resource folder and click this drawable folder. We aren't going to grab the icon, we don't need that, but everything else we're just going to borrow for our application. So just grab those, copy them, and then go into our drawable, the high definition, and just hit Control V, paste them in there. These XML files are for like custom buttons or custom views. Basically, it's just handling the click button and setting the different states of our custom button that we're setting up. So nothing too important. You know, if that confuses you, again, you can check out some simple Android tutorials for like custom views or custom image views, custom buttons, and check that out. Look how the XML works. Now that we have all of our resources set up, we want to create our XML file that we want to use for our activity. So let's go into our main XML file. This is the file that will be loaded up just by default, obviously, if you guys have developed apps before. And let's just create a new image view or image button, whatever you guys want to choose. I'm going to do image view, and we're going to just set this bad boy up to Android ID equals app plus ID. And we'll just call this login. Android width, layout width will be set to wrap content, and also the Android layout height will be wrap content. So, and we also need to add the source. This will link it up to the XML code that we got set up over here within that example that we borrowed our information from. And we're just going to say source. This is going to be equal to our drawable folder, and then we're just going to say login button, or whatever our XML is labeled for, a login button, and then we're just going to do a /$sign. That'll be our first image for our button. So let's copy this and paste it. And we're also going to create an image for our profile pic. We're going to pull the information from the person's profile picture eventually. The only thing that we're going to change here is we're going to add a visibility. So we're going to set visibility to invisible. And for our source, we don't actually need a source for that. Alright, so let's save this. Make sure we don't have any errors. It looks pretty simple. So that looks pretty good. Let's go into our starting place class. This is again our main activity. And what we need to do is we need to get that ID that we saved within our strings or values of our strings resource. Now you guys could have just typed out a string variable app ID and then set this equal to whatever you guys your app ID is here. But again, just to kind of keep mine more confidential, since I'm making the video and I don't want some people to have access to that, I'm just going to reference it from my strings variable that I set up. So we're going to say get string r dot strings or string dot app ID, and that's going to be our app ID, obviously just what we copied into our strings reference. The next thing that we need to do is we're going to set up a new Facebook variable, And we can do this because, again, we attached the Facebook information to our build or to our library of this application. We're going to create a Facebook variable, call it Facebook or FB, and we're going to set this equal to be a new Facebook object, Facebook, and we need to pass in our app ID. So again, we're just going to refer to that string variable we just set up. Alright, and then we have to add our imports. You can do that with Control-Shift-O, and that will add our Facebook import. The next thing that we want to do is set up our image views. So we're going to say image view, we'll say pick and button. So we have two different image views, one for the login button, one for the picture. And we're going to set up our references. So it's going to be image view, find view by dr.id.login for our button, and also for our image view pick, we're going to set this equal to a new image view. And if you guys are curious how I'm getting that, this helper to come up, it's just hit Control Space and it'll either finish the word for you or give you a little helper menu like this. So that's just kind of a quick tip. And there we go. We have our references set up. We want to add an on-click listener to our button, so we're going to say set on-click listener. This, and again, all this stuff is kind of the basics of Android. If you guys are confused, you can check out mybringback.com and get kind of the basics of Android development. So I'm kind of moving a little bit quickly here, but we haven't actually integrated any Facebook stuff yet. So I've just referred to this, which means we have to implement the on-click listener for our activity and add the unimplemented methods. So this click method is now attached to our button. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to see if a session is available. Okay, set up our button with the if statement, and we're going to refer to our Facebook object that we set up. Now it's not connected to Facebook yet, so we can't actually, well, don't worry about that. There's one method within the Facebook object is session valid? That means, are we logged in to our Facebook account with our app already, or is it not logged in, essentially? So if it's logged in, it's true, and what we're going to do is we're going to allow our button to, our button will close our session. Okay. We aren't getting into coding. I'm just giving some comments here. So we're going to say log out of Facebook. That's what we want to happen within this if statement. So else, what's going to happen is our session is not valid. So we're going to log into Facebook. Okay. Again, we aren't coding yet. I'm just getting everything set up, and in the next tutorial, we'll kind of go into the coding and making this stuff happen. What we're also going to do within our onClick method is create a method that updates what our button should look like at the moment. So we're going to create a new method called update button image or something like that. So we're like, well, that's not a method, so we're going to have to create this method. And within this method, again, we're going to refer to that Facebook session or that Facebook object, and we're going to say is session valid. And if it is, we're going to refer to our button that we set up, and we're going to set the image resource to be our r.drawable. We're going to set our image resource to be our logout button. Whoops. Let's see. Logout underscore button. Again, this is the XML file that will handle what the graphic should look like for our logout button. Alright, so if we're logged into Facebook, obviously we want to display the logout button. But if we're not logged into Facebook, again, the else statement, we're going to refer to our button and set the image resource back to be our login button because we want to allow the person to log into Facebook. So we're just kind of working with the graphics as of right now, getting things set up for our sessions, and we're going to save that. And now when we create, or when our application started, it's going to go call this update image button. Our update image button is going to be like, okay, is our Facebook session valid? If it is, show the logout button. If it's not valid, show the whoops, that's supposed to be log in button. I'm sorry. So show the log in button. Let's just run it to make sure it kind of looks all right. And it should display our log. All right, and it looks like our application crashed because we initiated this get string from not within our onCreate method. So what we're going to do quickly is just cut this out, and paste it within our onCreate method below our set content view. And like I said, I don't usually use this get string. I just throw in the actual app ID here, so sorry about that. And also let's set this Facebook object to be a global variable, or a variable our whole class can access. So we're just going to say Facebook, or FB, and then delete there. So now we should be good, and let's just save this, run it, make sure it works now. And we have our Facebook button with the two states, clicked and unclicked. Obviously it doesn't change into the Facebook logout button until we actually log into Facebook. So that's pretty much it for this tutorial, guys. Make sure you check out the next one. It's going to be awesome, and we'll see you then.